Welcome to BALLBUSTERS Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So massive shout outs to Abraham Muhammad, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvault, Burn a Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Charion Cat, Dank, Dave Rakier Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Jeranism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Life is Short, Matt, Nyby, Tar Craig, Reinhardt, Renee, Sally Ballis, Sam Hine, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, and Tom Hawkins. So massive shout outs to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. So first shout out, or the main protagonist in this story that you're about to be told, is a YouTuber called Eagle, Plane and Anchor. And Eagle, Plane and Anchor basically trimmed out a section of BALLBUSTERS, which was broadcast on Quantum Eraser channel. There are links in the info box and in the comments section below this video if you want to go and check out Eagle, Plane and Anchor and Quantum Eraser. So during that broadcast, I got a bit of fire in my stomach and started ranting about how we'd been deceived, etc, etc. But as I say, Eagle, Plane and Anchor then trimmed that out and put it to a backdrop with some music. And then, I can't remember who, but someone else mirrored it. And then John Thor mirrored it. And then another chap who is called Jagsam also mirrored it, but then put Spanish subtitles underneath it. So I left a comment and said, look, I'll do a shout out for you on the show. And then I thought about it for a minute. I was like, well, technically that was a BALLBUSTERS trim out, and it was originally broadcast on Quantum Eraser. So how am I going to get around just shouting it out on the middle of a debate when it's not for the debate? It's actually a BALLBUSTERS. So I thought, right, sod it, I'll just do a dedicated broadcast. I'll play out his clip, and as I say, there's links to his channel, which is Jagsam, in the comment section and info box below this video. So I'll play that out. I'll drop a line to the people who are part of the BALLBUSTERS team. So once the clip has played out, I'll give that line a ring, and a couple of people in there already have said that they do fancy a quick chit chat. So there might be a bit of a chit chat afterwards. If nobody answers, then there won't be. But without any further delay, I'll stick this up and you can enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comment section.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't make a difference how smart you are, who made the guess, or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. That's all.
You know how I reported recently that they changed on Einstein's theory of general relativity on the Wikipedia page? They removed the word superseded and they replaced it with refined, and then there was a bit of back and forth in the history about who was doing what and for what reason. And basically it demonstrates they don't like certain phrases. Well, that fiend has striked again on Wikipedia.
Ah, here it is. Yeah, with the Wayback Machine. Yep. Let me make it a little bigger. yeah.
They don't like it, do they? They have to change their science for no good reason other than to hide keywords like superseded rather than refined and cause and effect. And now it's just missing.
Yep, there it is right there. Experiments provide insight into cause and effect. Yeah. Too funny.
And yeah, it's pretty sad that they had to take it out of Wiki. I mean, they're changing the rhetoric in real time, and it's obvious.
But their projected criticism of us back in 2015, 16 and spilling into 2017 If I say these two words, I'm sure it'll prick the hairs on the back of everyone's necks up. Flat earthers are, quote, science deniers. And how the tables have turned.
Exactly.
What that was projection of their own failings. Like any con man, most of the long con is built up on bluff. Well, they were bluffing us the whole time. We've got science. Science proves we're on a spinning ball. That's what we were told. What are flat earthers? Well, they're science deniers. Well, let's break that down. What does that actually mean? It means they're projecting their pseudoscience as proving things, whilst simultaneously calling us pseudoscience deniers. Now, I'm happy to, now that it's been broken down, go along with that. Yeah, we are absolutely denying what they call science. Because it isn't science, it's pseudoscience. Now, the tables have turned 2017, 18 and 19 to the point where, like you say, they're having to edit Wiki to change the fundamental principles of science so that it meets their ends when they peddle their pseudoscience. Well, isn't this an interesting turn of events? The flat earthers are the ones talking about actual science, cause and effect relationships, hypothesis-based predictions that are validated or invalidated by systematic experimentation. We, the flat earthers, are talking about science. The purveyors of the heliocentric model aren't. They're pseudoscientists. And this is what will change the game in this arena. The recognition of this very detail. The people who tell you we're on a globe are pseudoscientists. And what are we talking about here and trying to educate our audience in as flat earthers? Actual science. Legitimate cause and effect relationships being established through scientific prediction, hypothesis, that's validated or invalidated with systematic experimentation. That's what we're talking about as flat earthers. Quick, censor them! And the main thing, the main point, the one crucial detail that I've learned that means I win when debating flat earth is this. Knowing what actual science is means I win. It is pretty much as simple as that. With that one bit of advice, if you can understand and argue from a position of actual science, and I'm going to say it again, we're flat earthers giving you this information, abide by the scientific method and you'll win as a flat earther. What does that tell you, globies? That when you fight with us using empiricism and science, you lose. That says it all. I'm getting all fired up for a reason. We've been lied to, right? The Earth's not a sphere. Why have we been lied to? Well, because people peddle pseudoscience and call it science. And then you come to a flat Earth channel like this, Quantum Eraser channel. He's predominantly talking about the nature of our reality. The nature of our reality being it's a plane. It's not a sphere flying through a vacuum. And we're the ones that get censored. We're the ones that get wiki disclaimers below us, talking about reifications of flat Earth models being archaic. That's what we get for telling our audience, use the scientific method, stick to it, and you'll find out more about your reality with empiricism. And if you use that in this arena of debating about the nature of our Earth, you'll win against people who assert that the Earth's a globe. If you stick to the scientific method. I mean, this should resonate with everybody in the audience, not just flat earthers that listen to the show and go, yay, he's got him over a barrel with a question about whether or not they've established cause and effect and got empiricism for their claim when talking about a bloody star or something nonsensical like travelling to the moon. No, they haven't got any of this. None of it's scientifically validated. And this is how we're winning. With real science. Something that nobody in high up academia is ever going to disagree with you on. In other words, as a flat earther, you can argue this subject up to the level of academia, and unless they're indoctrinated globe-worshipping slaves or zealots, they can't disagree with you. You're the one who's right when you're arguing from the position of the scientific method, not the globe heads, not the people who believe the space is real. This is, to me, quite amazing. It was back when I first got hold of the information. It got quickly shattered, I'll mention him now, when I was told, oh no, this knife cuts both ways. We're winning as flat earthers because we're adhering to the scientific method. Isn't that glorious? It is for me. I think it's fantastic. A method that's absolutely ingrained in academia and has established bettering society with technology based on the application of that scientific method, things move on in life because of this method, and it's on our side as flatties. Wonderful. Science doesn't seem all that useful when people present certain experimental data. You go, oh, what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean a great deal to the general public until technology comes along based on that experiment. Then people are all for whatever it is that you're validating through systematic experimentation because it becomes useful to them, normally much further down the line. But nothing that's punted from the pseudoscience religion of a globe is useful. None of it's useful. The only things they pretend that are useful in their model were predicted long before the heliocentric model even existed. So their claim bloody predictions aren't that great. The fact that they've managed to wrap them around a sphere is just a testament to how much they want their religion to work. It doesn't actually do anything useful. Science, on the other hand, does. It progresses humanity, and it's on flat Earth's side. Make no mistake.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong.
Yeah, another big shout out to Jagzam, Eagle Plane and Anchor, John Thor, and anybody else that mirrored that video. Obviously, I'm completely humbled by the fact that people have taken that section, as is, I'm sure, Anthony, Chocolate Saying, and anybody else who was part of that Ballbusters episode. So we are joined by 10th Man and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have both of you here. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. It won't be an endless diatribe in this particular discussion. It'll just be a quick natter just to round out this this impromptu promotion of those particular YouTubers. So, as I've said before, Quantum Eraser's channel, as is Jagzam and Eagle Plane and Anchor. They're in a comment and in the info box. If you want to go and subscribe to them, do that immediately. Are you there, Anthony? And is anybody else with us? Is that
I am.
Just you two?
Yeah.
Hello.
Sorry, I was listening to I guess we were listening to a video.
Yeah, it was a section of
Guys.
Ballbusters. So it starts off with Chocolate Saying, explaining how Wikipedia has been hijacked to take out cause and effect reasoning from the explanation of science. And you and Chocolate...
No, that was me. That was me.
Yeah, you were discussing it with Chocolate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was on that... I think it was the second or third Ballbusters that John broadcast on.
Yeah, it
Quantum
got
Eraser.
translated, right?
Well, yeah, someone put
one of these?
Spanish
Are we
subtitles.
live?
We are live.
Oh, okay.
I did write that in the comments underneath Ballbusters. But there we go. Or maybe I didn't. No, that could be wrong. Sorry. Yes, my bad if I didn't actually mention that. Sorry. Yeah, and I just wanted any comments from any of the people who were on that particular panel, and if they chose to join, great. I'd get a comment out of them. Hopefully I'll get a comment out of you in that regard, Anthony.
It's just one of many examples where they're changing the narrative right before our very eyes. If they're not changing Google Earth to make it match the observation, they're changing Wikipedia. I mean, I tried to change something on Wikipedia that was factually true. You can see Mackle Lighthouse from the beach at St. Bees, and then somebody was deleting it and changing it back so that you couldn't see it. Now, you can literally see Mackle Lighthouse from the beach at St. Bees. So it's a fact, right? And they'll change it because they don't want that fact to be out there. So it's just another example of them moving the goalposts right under our nose.
Yeah, I can back that. So my wife and I and the dogs and your partner and yourself all huddled around. And Spurs, correct me if I'm wrong, was Spurs there? He was. I'm pretty sure it was 5 of us, including Spurs, all saw that lighthouse flashing away where it should not be seen. And then Anthony running into Wikipedia and saying, well, I can edit this. It says 80 miles or whatever it is, and it's not. It's 31 miles, so we can see it. And I was like, yeah, change it. And I think the net result was you were banned from using or adjusting wiki entries or something along those lines, right, Sleeping Warrior? Slick.
He's on mute.
Slick. Super slick.
I'm sorry, I was being spoke to in the background.
That's okay.
What was the question, Nathan?
It doesn't matter. I was regaling the audience with your story of adjusting the Wikipedia entry for Mackled Lighthouse, and I was asking what was the net result. Were you banned from making adjustments in Wiki, if such a thing is possible?
No, I'm not banned from making them. It's just that I changed it. Somebody then changed it back, right? Because they don't want that information coming out. So I'd change it again, and they changed it back. It's just ridiculous. It's just bad.
It's bad. But yeah, in the instance we covered on Ballbusters, it was, as I say, cause and effect being removed because pseudoscientist practitioners don't want the actual scientific method being highlighted too much when they're peddling pseudoscience that doesn't have cause and effect reasoning adhered to by systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. Now, if that's the information that Wiki's presenting to people and we're saying, look, you don't have scientific evidence, and they go, no, science is my version of whatever I say, they're going to want a bit of a change in Wiki, right?
Yeah. Nathan,
that's why they want to keep it flexible, right? So that they have the ability to change it on the fly, however they want. I mean, remember, look, when we started this year, the moon wasn't in the Earth's atmosphere. Now it is, right? So, like, in real time, they just flip and bounce whatever they want.
Yeah. There is I don't know whether you guys. I don't know whether it's worth. I don't know. I'm going to change topics for a sec. Because I was reading some in an old encyclopedia, Encyclopedia Americana from 1958. Are you guys familiar with what I'm referring to?
No.
Did you get what I just sent you on Skype? Because I saw your thing on Facebook.
Right. So you're familiar with it. I found it. No, I didn't. I've not seen that. Basically, it's a paragraph out of a 1958. I think it is. Yeah.
Look at our Skype messages, bro. I just sent you that. Like 2 minutes after. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so it was 1958, Encyclopedia Americana. And when when religious groups, particularly like the Islamic ones that are the extremists, and they go around destroying what they called archaeological discovery sites for whatever weird reason, they go destroying it. It's thousands of years old and they just blow it up and whatnot. And you wonder, why did they do that? Well, a lot of people say it's to remove history. They don't want that element of history being there, so they'll destroy it to hide the fact that something happened, whatever that something is. And then I remind myself of like the burning of the books in like the Library of Alexandria, and all the other burning of the book scenarios that we've had reference to in the past. And it dawns on me that if there was an explanation or a reason or a motivation to burn a load of books, the knowledge that would be in them books would be the reason to hide them all, right? If you burn the books, you get rid of the knowledge that's in them. But what if they left one book out accidentally and it slipped through and they didn't quite catch it, right? And there was something in one of these encyclopedias that should have been destroyed but wasn't destroyed for whatever reason, and then somebody like us accidentally come across it, it would be devastating to the idea that we might live on a sphere if that book fell into the wrong hands. So I'm going to read a small paragraph out of this 1958 Encyclopedia Americana.
Just before you do, did you pop anybody else on the line? Just pop yourselves on mute, please.
Yeah, I think it's chocolate. And it's referring
to chocolate. Don't come at me like that, man.
It sounds like someone's rubbing their microphone against the collar or something. But anyway, I'll read what it says. It's talking about flights over Antarctica and exploration from the early 1900s, and different people doing different things. And then they get plane flight and they start flying over over that area. And I'll just read what it says verbatim. It says, let's find the paragraph. Right, it says, 4 United States planes flew from New Zealand to McMurdo Sound on December the 20th, 1955. Right, that's their summer, right? And made the exploratory flights over unknown parts of the continent until January the 18th, 1956, when they returned to New Zealand. Now, this is the most important bit. These flights proved the inland areas to be featureless in character, with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. So this is reported in a particular encyclopedia from the day back in 1958. Now, the problem is, if you believe that we live on a sphere and you believe that the gas pressure that we breathe is caused by gravity, and then you find out that Einstein says gravity is not a force, you haven't got anything even potentially capable of holding the atmosphere onto the sphere, right? The atmosphere onto the ball, because the opposite of a container is like the creation of a well or a cup or a bucket, where you flip all the sides up to create a bucket. Well, the opposite would be flipping them all down to create a sphere. It would be the opposite of a container. So you've got a container that would be a bucket. Imagine a decontainer being the opposite. That would be the sphere. You can't have gas pressure on a sphere without some kind of force holding it down. But even if you did have that force, it still needs to be equal to the mass of the object that you're trying to slow down from bursting into space, right? But we know that, according to Henry Cavendish, it was a 50 millionth of the object's weight, and that was the biggest it could be, right? Not greater than. So whatever this force that doesn't actually exist, that isn't a force according to Einstein 100 years later, that's like now 100 years old, whatever that force needed to be, it wasn't even strong enough to give us the atmosphere, if it even existed in the first place. But Einstein said it's not a force anyway. But you've still got that paradox where you've still got to find something to stick to the outside of a ball, because it's the opposite of a container. It doesn't allow gas pressure to form. So it has to be contained. We have to be living in some kind of containment, right? And I've always been reluctant to say dome, because there's never any evidence of it, right? It's almost as if they've burnt all the evidence in books in libraries across the world at some point. Oh, hang on, they did do that. But now we've got one that actually references the dome itself. It says, these flights proved the inland areas to be featureless in character, with a dome 13,000 feet high at about 80 south, 90 east. That's direct reference for a dome. Now, should this book have been burnt? Yeah, it hasn't been burnt, and we can see it. So this book's reference it. Now that makes then you lead to the question, well, what was in all the other books? Let's say this one did slip through the net because it was generally considered not to be contentious. Let's say this book slipped through, and all the other books that were burnt all had references to it as well. And then you think, well, if we're not on a sphere and Antarctica does exist and it is a flat plane, it has to be an ice ring around the outside edge. And there has to be a dome, because this seems to be referencing it, right? And if all the other books have been burnt, that would be the reason why Flat Earth doesn't have any evidence to support it, because it was all burnt. But now we do have a referenced book from an encyclopedia, 1958, from Encyclopedia Americana. And it's literally saying these flights proved the inland areas to be featureless, with a dome 13,000 feet high at latitude 80 south, 90 east. That's really pertinent, guys. If there is a dome, and now we know where it is and how high up it is, that's the reason why we can't go to Antarctica.
Oh,
there's a
talking about that.
nicely strung together narrative that you've put together with ice walls and domes simply because of a entry in an encyclopedia, whilst we simultaneously decry the changes made in Wikipedia, like the Encyclopedia Britannica or America has got no ability to have changes made to it as it goes along its path, narratives fed into the text that's in there. Why is it this 1950s encyclopedia entry's only just been found now? Unless it's been fed into us, I'm very sceptical.
Yeah, but the video actually shows the book it comes out of.
I'm sure. So what?
I heard of it before, but it's just the first time I'm seeing it pop up on the internet.
Doesn't mean anything. It's just words in a book. Anyway.
Yeah, but there's one issue with it.
It
doesn't actually describe the angle of approach to the dome shape. It's just saying dome. It doesn't specify.
Well, on a sphere, it can't be.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't specify how it was experienced. It's just saying dome.
It doesn't matter. It can't be the
case. It's on the inside of a dome or against a dome. It doesn't say.
It's not.
Go on, 10th man.
It's not important because, as the video that was shown here on BALLBUSTERS today, we are going to work our way backwards using the scientific method. So if it's not experiment, it's not science, as Richard Feynman said. So if we're going to be that way about it, which I think is a very good way to approach it, is to say demonstrate water adhering to a sphere. Well, they can't. Demonstrate gas pressure without a container. Well, they can't. Well, then that leaves open what Anthony is saying. So until we go down there, until we're able and allowed
We don't even have to go and say it's that way. We just have to say your narrative is false. You can't do these things. You've been calling it science. We want to go down there and see for ourselves. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Totally agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's not that it's
it
not
is
interesting.
basically rumors.
It is
so-
interesting. I'm not going to decry that in any way, Anthony, and I'm glad you've brought it up. It is
It's not
definitely
rumours.
noteworthy.
It's not rumours, Arwen. It's documented parts of history that seems to have slipped through the burning of books escapade. I'm not saying
It doesn't describe how it exactly was scientifically tested. So it is. Yeah, we're going to have to take it as a witness account.
Exactly. It's anecdotal at best.
it's not anecdotal. It goes on to describe how these planes were being pulled out of the sky. They were just disintegrating in the middle of flight. And they thought that it was German technology that they'd perfected some kind of pulse technology or something. But they realised afterwards that, it's got the crash. They seem to be crashing into the dome. That's what it seems to be.
Okay. Well, as I say,
I'll say it's interesting. Yeah.
Definitely.
If we do live in a ball, there would never be a reason for something about a dome being included in an encyclopedia, right? So yeah, I'll say it's interesting because that's a completely different narrative. But yeah,
and
I mean,
of all the adjectives or the describing words they use to describe this thing, they call it dome. That means one thing, right? And on the ball model, there can't be anything there. But there is something there. There seems to be something there. And if they burnt all the books that are also referencing it, and it also happens to be around about this early 1900s as well, it's almost as if they had an education reset by the World Wars. So that's what I think the World Wars were. I think that they were literally education reset because technology and intelligence was gaining too much momentum and the powers were losing control. They needed something to distract everybody and kill off a lot of that intelligence. And it seems to be that's what they've done. I just find it incredible that there's reference of a dome at the only one place that we'd expect it to be if the Earth was flat, and it's there.
Hang on, Anthony. That's not excuse me. That's not the only reference. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6. As a Christian, I believe God made the firmament. It's right there in Genesis. And it's the first thing he made on the second day and the only thing he made on the second day before he made earth habitable for people. So I could go to a reference called the Old Testament and say it talks about a container. Now, when I'm talking to someone who doesn't believe the Bible like I do, I can't start there. I have to say, how can you have gas pressure without a container?
See, I'm in that second point. It's not that I don't believe the Bible. It's just that I'm reluctant to accept that it's true because
let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
So people are saying we're a sphere and we don't have any kind of container because we can't see it. And then we say, well, demonstrate that with gas law and everything else that, with all the control variables that have to go with a true experiment. Well, they can't. But we could do it inside of a lab and show that the only way to have gas pressure if it's pressing upon something. And the minute you open up a membrane, it's going to fill the available space. So we can demonstrate you can't have gas pressure without a container. They can't do what they say. And then I reference an Old Testament passage and say, hey, here in this holy book, it says that on the second day, if you believe God created everything, he did put a container. That's all I'm saying. They don't have to accept it. I'm just saying it fits what we are experiencing.
What? Really? Container?
Yeah, Arwen.
What was the word used to describe it?
Rakia, from the root word raka.
But doesn't that mean tent or roof?
It means firmament, solid object. Yes.
No, that's.
And
you're in agreement. Let's not argue. You're in agreement.
The context is waters above and waters below. It held the waters above. What can hold waters above?
The inevitable conclusion you can draw from that is that there is a separation of layers. Doesn't hint to any geometry of any kind.
Right.
No, what you can draw from
all of the words you used all hint at that, not a geometry.
Excuse me, Aaron. You're not a Hebrew. You're not using their view of it in their language of that time. That's how you study these things. They always knew it was a dome. Now, we can leave it there if you like, but if you're going to say, what the old Hebrew, how they saw it, Well, how? Because I'm not a Hebrew. I have to go and see what the words mean and what they said. And so I'm just saying, because there's non-Christians, they won't accept it, and that's not my business. My
I'm
point
just
is,
taking your words as you've given me them.
it's not my words.
It is.
not-
You're the one relaying it.
Well,
I asked you for the word.
Let there be
I
a
don't want to
firmament
get
in the...
No offense, 10th Man and Darwin. It seems like for the most part you're in agreement. I don't think it's crucial to the point being made. Who cares? Let's move on.
Exactly.
Look, I'm not saying there's nothing to the Bible concerning our cosmogony. I'm just saying that the conclusions that some of the flat earthers like to draw from them seems to be a little too far reached. It gives
How
a
far?
limited insight as to aspects of the realm. It doesn't give the geometry, really. Only anything geometrical related, the only thing is a circle, and that is it, a circle. It's the only geometrical aspect that I've heard.
Arwen, you come on this show every day and you agree with you can't have gas pressure without a container. I am referencing an Old Testament. Can I finish? I'm referencing a verse in the first book of the Bible, in the first chapter, that God made a firmament, something to divide the waters from the waters. Now, I don't know the details, what it's made out of exactly. If it's flat, the dome, I don't know those things. All I'm saying is that it fits what we know and can experience, which is you can't have gas pressure without a container. I'm not trying to force it on anybody. I'm just saying it's there. You're trying to say, well, how do you know it's a dome? How do you know it's... I don't know.
Oh, Arwen, why do you reject the you just said then that there was no geometry for the dome, but it's stated 13,000 feet high and about 80 degrees south and 90 degrees west, or whatever the other half of it was.
Right.
Then that's giving you the geometry of not just where it is, but how close to us. I mean, we can get to 13,000 feet pretty easily in a plane, right? That's geometry, right?
Presumably. Yeah, I'm not denying there's some kind of phenomena there, but it doesn't give it geometry. It just says there's a phenomena there at that latitude.
Here at cross purposes, he's talking Bible, Anthony's talking about this encyclopedia entry. So,
yeah, that is true.
So just so this doesn't end up being a very long show, I was only hoping to keep it to about half an hour. Have you got any closing remarks, Chocolate?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, it's interesting, but you know, I don't know what the container is, and you know, I don't assume to know. But yeah, it's definitely interesting that something like this would be in an encyclopedia. So I'll give it that. And then obviously with the Bible and I'm not a Bible guy, but yeah, the Bible talking about the firmament and stuff. I mean, sure. And we all know you can't have gas pressure without a container, so there's got to be something, you know, unless it's something else that we've not thought of at all. But it's definitely not a ball spinning around in a vacuum.
Perfect. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, I may carry on the show a little bit longer, so there'll be an slightly extended after show to this Ballbusters. But unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to Zigzam, hope I've got his name right, Quantum Eraser for hosting Ballbusters typically, and links to both those channels are in the info box and in the comment section. Another thank you to Sleeping Warrior, Arwen, 10th Man and Chocolate Sane for making the panel section of this Ballbusters possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing the show. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley channel. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next Ballbusters.